Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. It's the first time for a long time I've actually done a show talk, apart from some of the virtual ones that were around. But anyway, now tell you what we've been CJE. We've been very busy doing all sorts of things. In actual fact, we've increasing the hours of some of our staff. Some of it was part-time, we're full-time because we're just so busy. All of our stuff is dealing with the older computers, which you'll see when I mention what we've been doing. Although I'm still hoping to semi-retire to 40 hours a week one of these years. I said by the time I'm 50, and seeing as next year I'm 70, I really should start to get down to 40 hours a week, but hopefully we'll get there. So, since the last London show, which we went to, because we do the 2022 one, been a few new things that we have done. One of the first things we've done is the Archimedes keyboard converter. Because the old Archimedes used a special keyboard, and they were getting a bit old in the tooth, and the keys were a bit dodgy, and you can't replace keys on them. So anyway, someone very kindly did an interface that converts to PS2. So standard PS2 keyboards and mice, and we can provide keyboards and mice for that. So that's for the Archimedes. Then we found that A7000 backplanes were pretty rare, very rare. In fact, people wanted them, so we copied Acorns basically. Pretty well, exactly. It was very straightforward to copy. Although what we did, you will see ours is more complicated because we put provisions for a real-time clock on there. So it's very easy to, we can supply it with a real-time clock fitted. So if the real-time clock's died on the motherboard, that does it all in one. And there's still even like an I2C takeoff port if anyone wants to dabble with I2 things. There's a socket there to enable you to do that easily. Not having to use a whole module just to connect up the I2 and the power and earth. So we've done that. And then, actually, one of the more recent things we've done was we used to sometimes get in second-hand, what for the main company did, ZIF sockets for BBC micros that they fitted in what were frequently affectionately called the ashtray, to the left of it. So we've produced some of those, done a slight twist on it in that the pinout at this end, for some reason, the people who produced the most readily available transition connector that plugs into one of the existing ROM sockets, wired it sort of like that, the opposite. So if you plugged it in underneath the PCB, it would be equivalent to work. So we designed the board to be, we could put the components on that side or that side, which was made interesting work for Andrew when he laid out the PCB. But so we've produced that. What else have we done? Things like we now can do, a lot of people like to use not rotating rust for their storage nowadays, SSDs or SD cards, compact flash cards, whatever. But of course, the best one to use, if you can't actually go on an SSD drive, is mSATA. So on those ones, so we now have appropriate adapters and mSATA suitable for the older Acorn computers. Then another thing that came into short supply was 2 megabyte of VRAMs for the RISC PC. We actually had quite a lot of new 1 megabyte VRAMs with room waiting for the chips to go on. And we managed to source the relevant chips. So we've been able to have those fitted. So we actually effectively have now new 2 meg VRAMs. We're getting in very short supply. Another thing that we've sourced for the help people with older systems Parallel port printers are really quite rare, certainly new. But we managed to find someone, well, brother, did a particular printer which they did offer parallel port. For some obscure reason, they didn't use a 25-way D-type or even 36-way Amphenol on it. They used a 26-way 3-row D-type. And the cables for it were silly money and didn't seem to be readily available, so we've now made a whole batch of those. So when we found out that this particular model, sometimes it was available in, was it Wi-Fi and USB or USB and parallel. So we bought a job lot of the printers up, stuck in a corner of our warehouse. Yes. So we've got those. Now something that actually I only found out this week, and we haven't actually had a chance to try it, but if you do want to connect up older printers to older, well, even modern actually, of course, thinking about it, RISC OS machines, inkjets that are compatible are sort of almost non-existent, or very, very unusual, unless you go for colour. You can go for colour laser, but if you want inkjet, because you want colour, then they are rare. So, but I found that there's one that's now being produced, an particular HP, that is actually, it's PCL 6 and postscript. Now, because PCL 6, which of course has no support for in colour, it will do mono, but it won't do colour. But postscript, as I'm sure you know, does colour. Now, in actual fact, if you use your software on RISC OS in the right way, you should be able to make use of the best quality colour output you can get, which would be better than like if you put sprites into whatever you're printing. If you, I don't know if you know, but if you say impression or other things, you can embed JPEGs into them, and they get transferred to the printer as a JPEG. And in actual fact, the PostScript 2, and I think even the 3 driver from RISC OS, doesn't sort of seem to have the necessary command to say, oh, only print this in black. It will always print it in colour, even if you otherwise said it's in monochrome. But so hopefully, if you're wanting good colour output, this printer may be a good one to go for, and it's a fairly reasonable price as an inkjet. One thing I forgot to pick up and bring, but oh yes, it's something I should have brought here, but you must put in my pocket, and it would have been not much more than that, because well, never been more than that. Basically, we've actually got Pi Zeros in stock. Both because they've been around for quite a while now. Availabilities of not really being able to just go and pick them up when you wanted to. You have to buy one at a time, and then you have to delivery charge and all the rest. So they don't end up the price goes up by 50% just because you wouldn't pay delivery on it. But we've actually got a mixture of original Pi 1s, effectively, well, it's version 1.3, and 2 Ws. We've got both of those in stock and on the stand. And one of the reasons why we've got them is this box here. This is an RGB to HDMI adapter. Now it's currently wired up for a BBCB, but it will work to many of the early retro computer systems, Amstrads, Sinclairs that output RGB, CPC, Amstrad, QL, Linux, PCs that output NDA, CJE, sorry, not CJE, CGA, yes, that is the right one. Yes, CGA. Now, it doesn't do analog to digital conversion. This actually senses, because it's not, certainly on the BBC, it's not, and also those, it's not an analog signal. It is a digital signal, and it's just calibrating it and it's got a system in, so you just press a button and it will go off and calibrate for your particular computer the signal. So you end up with a really crisp output display on HDMI. We've been selling for quite a while another box that you just put a SCART input into it and it gives you HDMI, but this is a different league of quality. Unfortunately, the BBC Mode 7 has a slight issue, but because Mode 7 relies on the chip, the SA5050, relies on a 6 kilohertz clock, and the BBC doesn't have one, so it fudges it, and the fudge doesn't always manage, this doesn't manage to cope with the fudging, but there is just one particular capacitor inside that needs change. But it only applies to, I'm told, a minority. Of course, when we tried it, for the first two BBCs we tried, both gave us a little bit of, in certain characters you could see it was flickering. But with a little mod, which if you want to come to the sound I can show, it's very simple. It gives crystal clear display on. Then one of the other things that we've done, I've been selling it for a while now, are Gotex. Now, when they first appeared, they were a bit clunky the way you had to use a PC and to store, set things up and copy all your files onto it. But now the software for it has been totally rewritten, and it just, the BBC just sees it's a floppy disk drive, and you can from the front button here, and this rotating, you can easily select. It's got now a system built in. You've got a hierarchy. You can have a directory of Acorn Soft things, micropower things, whatever, and then it displays it in the text display here. What is available? Because basically it stores all the disk images on a pen, which a USB pen, which can have, well, it's thousands, depends on the size. Even the smallest one, it's several thousand disk images on. So we can provide this just plugging in like that, or cased in a metal case, or however people want it. We've got a wide variety of cabling and that. And then we've actually got well, three things that we're looking at on doing that so I have to bring the water with me. Anyway, I'm just about finished, so I'll just press on. For older systems, it's not going to be a large market, but VidC enhancers, people with everything, anyone before the A5000 may remember the VidC enhancer allowed you to offer quite a lot of extra screen and higher resolution screen modes. To lab on board that plugs in, but they seem pretty rare, and when we do get them, we make them available and they sell very quickly, so we thought we might as well make some more, so we're going to do that one. We're also looking at doing reproducing 4-slot backplanes for the Archimedes 310 series, because again, when we occasionally get them, they go out the door very quickly. So, and then there is something that's a little bit more involved, interesting, but it's going to involve some negotiations, which we're entering into next week with someone, and we will be making an announcement about that. But that will be for sort of basically, well, it'll be a podule, let's put it that way, podule and hopefully a mini podule. But so for systems that utilise those, that'll be one, but I'm keeping the details of that one under my hat for the moment. But I think that that's all. Everything's on my list. If there's anyone with any questions, I will try and answer them. But, I'm not sure I left anything too open. Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the show, and have a good journey home.